Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am really excited to film today's video because, as you may have noticed, I've got a bit of a new videoing setup going on, but not only that, I also have a fancy new microphone which I'm testing out, so I'm so excited to see how the audio quality is in this video. You should find that it is better than what it usually is, hopefully, but we shall see how we go. This is kind of like a test video just to see if I've got it set up properly and everything. So I asked you guys on Instagram this morning, so like very last minute, if you could send in some questions so I could do like a Q&A video to really give my new microphone a good testing. And of course you guys came through and send in some questions, so that's what I'm going to do in today's video. I'm going to answer all your questions and test out the new mic. So let me know what you think of the audio quality in this video in the comments. Fingers crossed it is good. Now, before I get started, I just want to mention my new filming setup. It is not finished, so I'm not going to bother showing you guys. I will do a video purely dedicated to like my filming room transformation, but I'm not going to worry about taking you guys through anything right now. But just know that there is a little something in the works and I am doing up this room. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen a few updates. I just thought I'd get that out of the way because I know you guys would be like, oh my God, you have a new setup, like show us everything. I will, but once it's finished. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the questions. I have not really filtered through any of these questions yet, so I'm just going to be reading them off my phone, so we'll see how we go. Okay, first question. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself when you started designing? That's a great question. To be honest, I still don't feel like I'm that experienced as a designer. I know to you guys it might come across that, you know, like I'm a professional. I'm really not. I literally am still learning to this very day. I think my main advice would be to get more patterns out. I think that's something that I really not struggled with, but I could have done better. I kind of stalled. So I was, you know, pumping out patterns, and then as soon as I had my really successful pattern, which was my millennial jumper, I kind of just stopped putting out patterns. I don't know why I did that. It was silly. I think I kind of just got in the mindset like, oh cool, like I've got one successful pattern, that's all I need. I don't know. I think that's the advice that I would give my past self, is keep the momentum up. Don't stop, if that makes sense to you guys. Next question. Are you making anything special for Easter? No, I am not. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I don't really get around the whole holiday pattern things. I think my main thing when designing is I like things to be timeless. I don't like designing things that can only be made at a certain time of year. I want to, you know, design things that can be made all year round. So designing holiday specific patterns just has never really been my thing. It's not really something I do. Not to say that I won't do it in the future, but at this time in my designing career, I am more focused on just timeless designs that can be made all year round. So the next two questions I'm going to combine into one because they're kind of related. So the first question is, when you're crocheting for a living, how do you protect your body from RSI? And the next question is, how many hours a day do you crochet? So in regards to RSI, I have definitely had my fair share of wrist issues, as I'm sure anyone that crochets for long periods of time does. At that point, I was still working full time, so it's not like I was relying on being able to crochet to make a living like I kind of am now. Back then, when I had my wrist issues, I literally just went and bought a wrist brace and I would crochet with that on if I had to crochet. Otherwise, I just tried to take a step back and do less crocheting. I can't say that I stopped completely, but I did take a little bit of a break from it. And I think honestly, that's pretty much all you can do. You just have to take a break. When you start to get sore, stop. Like that's your body telling you to slow down, I suppose. So if I do ever start getting sore, I literally just stop crocheting, I'll take a break, I'll do some stretches, I'll go and do something else, I'll go for a walk or something, and then I'll come back to it later on. So I think it's just knowing your body and just listening to the warning signs, because if you're in pain, it's your body telling you to stop. But in saying that, to answer the next question of how many hours in a day do I crochet, now that I do it for a living, I honestly don't crochet that much. As silly as that sounds, but majority of the work I do is admin, filming videos for you guys, packing orders for Maker and doing admin for all the Maker kind of stuff, like ordering stock and, you know, designing new products and things like that. So to be honest, crocheting now is not my main activity in a day. Sometimes I'll go days without crocheting at all. So to answer that question, I don't know how many hours in a day I would crochet, because I honestly don't do it every day, as crazy as that sounds. But yeah, majority of what I do is really, really boring, and it's just admin and working on a laptop. So, but I guess on an average day when I am working on a new design, or I am crocheting or trying to get something out, I could spend all day. I could crochet for 8 hours a day. I don't know. I really could not put a time frame on it, because like I said, it's always different. Next question. Do you count stitches in every row? I am assuming this means if I'm working on a project, do I count my stitches after every single row? Absolutely not. I don't have time for that. If it's a complicated project and I know that I need to be checking my stitches, then I'll maybe do it every, I don't know, 5 to 10 rows or rounds. Definitely not after every round. Maybe after every round for the first couple of rounds or rows, just until I know I've got the hang of it and my stitch counts are constantly correct. But other than that, honestly, I never count my stitches, as bad as that sounds. But don't follow my lead. I do recommend counting your stitches, especially if you are quite new to crocheting and you're not super duper confident. Definitely count your stitches as much as possible until you know that you're on the right track and you've got the hang of it. Okay, next question. I am going to try and shorten it a little bit, but it's in regards to spotlights, Spot Saver, USA style. You guys know what I'm talking about. I use it all the time. And the question is, how do you wash this to stop it from getting fuzzy? So as in, if you were to make a garment or something out of it, how do you wash it without it peeling, I suppose, and getting those little balls on it? At the end of the day, I try and avoid washing all my handmade garments or projects as much as possible. I only really wash them if they absolutely need it. And if I am to wash it, it's always on a delicate cycle in my washing machine, and I use a wool wash or like a delicates wash. You could definitely also just hand wash. I'm too lazy for that, but I definitely recommend using the delicates cycle on your washing machine, and also just wash them by themselves. So I wouldn't throw one of my handmade jumpers in with the rest of my washing. I find that would probably cause damage because, you know, the friction of everything rubbing up against each other. So I would definitely recommend delicate cycle, delicate washing detergent, or if you don't want to use your washing machine, hand wash in the sink. Okay, next question. Favorite yarns, favorite place to purchase yarn. Okay, this is a lot of questions in one, so I'm going to break it up. Favorite yarns. I honestly don't really have favorite yarns. As such, I really enjoy working with good quality acrylic yarns or cottons. They're pretty much the only two things I will use. The reason for that is just because they're so accessible. When I'm designing, I like to design using things that other people will be able to afford and will have access to. So I try and avoid really expensive fibers like wool or alpaca or mohair and things like that, because they're not as accessible, they're quite expensive, and to be honest, they don't really agree with me. They give me allergies. So I actually really don't like working with wool and similar fibers. Favorite place to purchase yarn? Again, I don't really have like a go-to place where I purchase yarn. Of course, I purchase from Spotlight and Lincraft. They're the two major craft stores here in Australia, so that's just easy. If I need something quick, I can just go to the shop and get it. Otherwise, I do like purchasing off Love Crafts because I love the paint box and the Stylecraft yarns. I have recently used some of the hobby yarn, which I will talk about a little bit more in a second. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite yarn store, I suppose. Oz Yarn I really like as well. I haven't been there for a while, but their yarns are quite good. But yeah, I don't really have one specific favorite. Pros and cons of different yarns. Again, I don't really venture much outside of cotton and acrylic. I kind of went through the pros before. Affordable, accessible, easy to work with, no allergies. They're definitely the pros for both. Cons, I guess you could say acrylic is not so great for the environment, but then you can also say that cotton is also not so great for the environment. I don't know. I don't really like to go too far into the environmental impacts of yarns purely for the fact that there's just so many mixed opinions out there. I think you just have to do what's best for you and just work with what you enjoy working with. At the end of the day, everything's bad for the environment, really. Like everything, like every yarn has some kind of impact on the environment. I don't think there's any one yarn that you could say that that's amazing and that doesn't have any impact on the environment. Of course, they all do, but again, you just have to weigh up the pros and cons. But really, that would be my only con. Again, I love working with cotton and acrylic, so I don't really have that many bad things to say about them. Okay, next part of this question says, I haven't used hobby myself, so your opinion on that. So I actually have a proper hobby collab video coming up, so I will definitely go into the hobby yarn more in depth in that video. But I have been working with their Kind Feather yarn, which is a 100% acrylic 8ply/DK weight yarn, which I absolutely love. It's so soft. I will get it and show it to you guys. So this is what I'm using for the second sample of my All Too Bell sweater. You guys would have seen it maybe in my last video, I think it was, where I did the try on. But this is Hobby's Kind Feather yarn, and this color is the color Cognac. Sorry, it took me a while to remember the name. This is the Cognac in the Kind Feather yarn. I really, really like it. It's nice and soft. It's anti-pilling, which is amazing. We love an anti-pilling yarn. But yeah, again, I will go much more into depth on all the hobby yarns that I get to try in my hobby collab video. So stay tuned for that. Do you always use mass-produced brands or dabble in hand-dyed skeins from startups? Look, I would say that 99% of the time, yes, I do use mass-produced yarns. I would definitely like to dabble more in hand-dyed and like indie yarns and supporting some small businesses. I have bought from a few small businesses before. It's not like I have never used hand-dyed yarn, but yes, I do tend to use mass-produced yarns. Again, purely for the fact that they're just so accessible to everyone. I think being a designer, it does really impact the yarns you use because you, again, I know I've mentioned this before, but you want them to be accessible to people because otherwise people aren't going to make your patterns. So yeah, but that is something that I would definitely like to work on in the future and maybe treat myself to a few things made from some beautiful hand-dyed yarn. Next question, how many active new patterns have you got on the go right now? Well, I'm so glad you asked. I actually have 3 patterns on the go at the moment, which is really exciting. So you guys have already seen my All Too Bell sweater. So that is currently at the testing stage, and you just saw that I'm making a second sample of that. So that is in the works at the moment. That will probably, well, most likely be my next pattern release, which is really exciting. And then I am, of course, still working on the 10K cardi. It's coming, I promise. I know I've said this so many times. I'm literally the worst person in the world, but it is coming, I promise you. And then I'm also working on another collab that I've got going on with Hobby, and it is going to hopefully be a granny stitch jumper. I have started it. I only started it last night, so there's really not much for me to show you, but I'll give you a look at it anyway. So again, I am making this using the Kind feather yarn. This is what the label looks like. Sorry, the lighting, you can't really see it. But again, 100% acrylic 8-ply / DK weight yarn. And I told you it wasn't much to look at. This is it so far. So it's literally just going to be a raglan, so top down jumper. Oh, I don't want to mess up my hair. Oh no, I'm stuck. It kind of matches, oh, watch the microphone. It kind of matches the top I'm wearing right now. But yeah, basically it's just going to be a top-down raglan style jumper. I'm hoping to put a collar on it, which I've never done before. I've obviously done like a cowl neck, but I've never done a collar. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it works out, but that is the third pattern I'm working on at the moment. So hopefully I'll be able to get all of those patterns out in time for the Aussie winter, which is not far away, which I'm kind of excited about because I've had enough of the hot weather. I'm ready for a break. Okay, next question. Where do you get all your ideas from, and do you ever draw a blank on your Oh my God, why can't I talk today? What the hell? Take 3. Where do you get all your ideas from, and do you ever draw a blank on your creativity? All the time. I struggle. Most of the time is a struggle, to be honest, because when you have to be creative for a living, it's hard to constantly be coming up with ideas. I draw inspiration from anything really. Current trends. I like looking online at like clothing boutiques and seeing what they're doing and kind of incorporate my designs into, you know, just what's trending and what's fashionable at that point in time. But at the same time, I also like to design things that are timeless. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours or weeks and weeks designing something that is only going to be on trend for a couple of weeks and then nobody will be interested in it anymore. So I do try and create things that are timeless and that will never really go out of fashion. But again, that can be hard because that just throws like another spanner in the works, you know. But yes, I definitely get creative block all the time. But then sometimes I just have this wave of creativity and I have so many ideas, and I guess that just kind of balances it out, I suppose. Okay. Favorite pattern to make. My favorite pattern to make? I don't really have one because I'm very rarely will make the same thing more than once unless I'm designing it and I need to make more than one sample, but very, very rarely will I make something more than once. Purely for the fact that I just get bored. I'm not the kind of person that likes to make the same things over and over again. I like to mix it up. I don't enjoy doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I don't really have a favorite pattern. Easiest pattern. I'm assuming this is asking like the easiest pattern that I've designed. God, now you're putting me on the spot. I've got to actually think of all the things that I've designed. Probably like the cushion that I did. I think it was one of the first patterns that I ever designed. It was just literally a basic half double crochet square cushion cover. That's probably the easiest. You can probably still find that pattern on my blog somewhere. There might be a YouTube video about it. Actually, maybe not. I can't remember, but that's probably the easiest thing I've ever designed. Most challenging pattern. To be honest, probably the 10K cardi. That has been a challenge and a half, hence the reason it has taken me so long. I don't know what it is though. There's not one thing that I can just put my finger on it and say, yes, that's why it's been so difficult. I think it's just the stitch pattern. And my most hated thing about designing is maths. I hate doing maths. So when it's a stitch pattern that requires maths, I hate it. My brain just doesn't comprehend maths, which is difficult when you're a designer because so much of designing revolves around maths, but that's why I hire a grader and a tech editor to kind of take care of most of the maths side of things. But yeah, that's probably been my most challenging design so far, but we're getting there, so it's coming. I promise it's coming. Piece you are most proud of. I've told you guys this before and I'll tell you again. The pattern that I'm most proud of would hands down be my millennial jumper. It literally changed my life. I think I said this in my last video or one of my recent videos. It literally changed my life. It's my most successful pattern. It's the one that still sells the best to this very day. It's the pattern that has allowed me to step out of my full-time work and do what I'm doing now full-time. So, you know, working on my business, doing YouTube for you guys, designing patterns. My millennial jumper is quite literally one of my main sources of income. So yeah, that's definitely my proudest design, or the design I'm most proud of. Anyway guys, that wraps up today's video. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions at such late notice. I probably should have posted it last night, but I didn't really think about what I was going to film today. I just knew I wanted to film something where I was talking so I could test out my new microphone. I'm excited to go and edit this now to see what the audio quality is like. Hopefully it's okay. Hopefully there's no like ruffling. I've been trying not to knock it. So fingers crossed. Let me know what you guys think of the audio in this video. I'd love your feedback because I'm trying to kind of get used to speaking at a level relevant to the proximity of my microphone, if that makes sense, because I used to just use the microphone built into my camera, so I felt like I was not having to yell, but I would have to talk louder so the microphone would pick up my voice, because obviously the camera's over there and I'm over here. Anyway, now I'm just rambling on, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please go and subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications so you will be notified every time I upload a video. And if you would like to join me in the Talk Yarny to Me Facebook group, I would love to see you there. There will be a link in the description down below. But until next time, guys, stay safe, be kind. I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.